All right, guys. Hey, listen, today we are going to talk about a fragrance from the house of Xerjoff. And I have a bottle for you. I know a lot of you guys wonder, oh, SB always has decants and whatnot. That's not always true. Any of you guys been following this channel for any bit of time know that I have hundreds of bottles, so that's never an issue. But I always try before I buy. It's just as simple as that. And when we talk about a fragrance like this, you will understand why. Strap up.
Okay, dinner for two. I watch that head move side to side as I let this in into the room. You are on top, let's connect minds. Trying to get into a mood. We gon' be fine. Close up the blinds, no rush. Finish the food.
All right, welcome to the Scent Bubble. I am your host for the afternoon. It is so good to have you guys here. Hey, listen, from the house of Xerjoff, we've got a bottle for you. Erba Pura, or Erba Pura, as us dull accented Americans call this fragrance. Let me tell you a little quick story time. So my videos are always in different orders because I I upload like 40 videos into the vault ahead of time, always. And so sometimes I curate and drop some videos that actually were made a little bit later, a little bit earlier. I drop so many videos, guys. It's just going to happen. And sometimes I'm like, you know what? They need to hear this reviewed now. You guys have been noticing I mostly get decants and discovery sets. It's just the way I am. I don't pull triggers on stuff until I'm absolutely sure I want a fragrance. But it's really interesting. At this point in my fragrance journey, I acquire bottles all kinds of different ways. And my family has even gotten involved. And I have a lot more friends in the fragrance space now. And so fragrances get passed around, fragrances get gifted, and then just good old me shopping for fragrances I want that I think are full bottle worthy. I pick them up very slowly because I'm always traveling through decants and stuff like that. But with that being said, what do I want to communicate to you guys? Somewhere in the midst of this video release, I wanted to let you guys know that there's a period of time in 2025 where I'm doing niche only for like 4 months straight. In fact, at the release of this video, I've got about a month left. And in the background, I've just been acquiring niche bottles because I've been doing niche only. It's not a transition. We've reviewed niche on here plenty of times, but as far as in my fragrance journey, building up my niche side of my collection, I've been just buying bottles and storing them in the back, and you guys occasionally see them pop up on lives and stuff, but I don't like to necessarily make announcements all the time about it because I've been getting a good enough collection together and really just honestly enjoying them. And there's a lot of backlog content that you guys haven't seen that I just want to drop before I dive into that. But I thought I would show some bottles on camera because the collection has been getting quite big and it's just time to kind of share a lot of the stuff I've been picking up with you guys. This one was actually gifted to me though. And this is Erba Pura. Xerjoff is a nice house. They make a lot of what I would call upscale, luxurious, complex, daring scents. They have stuff that's very commercial and mass appealing, but sometimes it's hard to say whether or not a fragrance house makes a fragrance to be mass appealing or if it just becomes deemed as a mass appealing fragrance due to popularity. I don't really know where this fragrance sits on that list, but it is one of the more commercial, most popular scents from the house of Xerjoff. But nonetheless, there is some beauty in it. And I think a lot of people in FragCom overlook it because a lot of the content creators kind of get in their feels when it comes to judging fragrances in this category. What are we talking about? Excuse me. We were talking about kind of exotic fruit, citrus, sweet, musky, vacation scents, around the water scents, yacht scents, beach scents, hotel 5-star resort scents, playful scents. And when you look at fragrances from the house of like Jean-Paul Gaultier and stuff like that, I would say this fragrance falls into the category of one of the highest elevation and renderings of the kind of tropical paradise vibe style of perfumery. And so I think a lot of people identify with this fragrance. It's one of the 1 to 3 first fragrances they find in the house of Xerjoff that appeal to them because it's just kind of a universally accepted fragrance. Niche snobs are kind of over it in some ways, or it's just not for them. Being grown men, some grown men don't really find themselves being attracted to kind of tropical scents because they're typically sweet, a lot sweeter than a lot of fragrances. And so a fragrance like this isn't the most masculine, I would say. Like, or let me say it this way, it's not the most obviously masculine. This is kind of like a psychology piece where your confidence and your interests and how you rock this fragrance really determines how people receive it. But nonetheless, I think the grown man who wears this fragrance doesn't care about what you think. They're just trying to wear something that fits the vibe that they're going for. But I would say if you're 25 and down, you're going to like this fragrance regardless. This falls into like your Instant Crush, your Jardin Exclusive, your Jean Paul Gaultier's, your 9 PMs. I'm kind of just naming fragrance DNAs from all over the clone world, you know, the Cod Lodge Islands, any fruity, citric, exotic, sometimes aquatic type of baskety, playful, but some more complex than others type of fragrances. Okay, all that out of the window. Let's get some initial thoughts on this beautiful fragrance that was gifted to me. I hope you guys have people out there who gift you fragrances, especially ones of this caliber. Been a while since I've put my nose to this. I've had a few wearings with this fragrance, not with this particular bottle. I actually haven't. This is my scent of the night, but this was actually the first time I put it on was tonight. But I've worn it several other times from testing and stuff. And granted, I personally probably wouldn't have purchased this for myself. Definitely would wear the fragrance. Again, just when it comes to my finances and pulling the trigger on stuff that really fits me. At the time that I had tried scents like this, they didn't really gravitate towards me. But I'm in a unique place in my journey where now I've tried a lot of stuff and I've learned to appreciate a lot of stuff for different reasons. And so when I spin the block on Erba Pura, I certainly appreciate different things about it than I haven't in the past. But nonetheless, since I didn't pay for it, you know, it's good to have. Okay, one of the things that I love about this scent is, at least right now in my new kind of, again, I've worn this plenty of times in the past and tried it and all that stuff. But one of the things I like about it is for this kind of tropical, fruity, citric, sweet fragrance, there is a great deal of what I feel and detect as musk in here that just kind of puts, musk can be rendered in different ways. And in the sense I get from this, again, I'm not a musk expert, but and I may not even be identifying, it might not even be the musk that's creating this for me, but I feel like I'm familiar enough with musk as it relates to its combination with florals and fruits and citruses where I kind of just know what it does, but I could be wrong or people could detect it differently. The musk here, I feel, gives a gust of air under the citrus and fruits. And it also simmers down the bright, juicy nature of kind of fruits and florals and citruses and kind of gives them, you know, when I think of fruits and citruses, I think juicy and like open and fleshy. And then the other kind would be like more subdued, which would be like riney, where it's kind of, you smell the rind of the fruit. It's a little less juicy. It's a little more subdued. These citruses and fruits are somewhere in the middle. Like they're not loud and zesty and bright. They're happy and uplifting, but the loudness, they're not screaming. They're kind of just like, ah, you know what I mean? So they sit right in the middle, which is really nice. It gives them a maturity. And I think that maturity is what would make a DNA like this a little more ageless. It could creep into older folks. Again, I want to remind you guys, I was speaking from a man's perspective earlier, but this is a unisex fragrance. I'm just, as a man reviewing it, trying to think about would I wear it, would men wear it, things like that. But I think it's a no-brainer type of fun, upscale, playful. It could fit in tropical, it could fit in islander, it could fit in anything by water, anything where there's a gust or a slight mist, resort, beachy, fun, maybe even at the park, maybe even like going out to the mall, just anything upscale, anything that you do casually to give you an upscale feel, all the way to vacation and fun, that type of stuff. But again, back to the fruits and citruses, I feel like these are the addition of musk with this type of DNA really gives a little more maturity to the fragrance. So it's not screaming, hey, I'm just a fruity fragrance like a lot of the Jean Paul Gaultiers, is why I feel like a lot of older men kind of phase out of Jean Paul Gaultier really quickly because there's a lack of musk. Maybe other elements can mature out of fragrance like woods and things like that. But in this case, I feel like, it makes Erba Pura more timeless, more middle of the road where, young kids aren't intimidated by musk because again, you can still make out the fruits and the citrus, but then older men get a dimension to it, an airiness to it, and a tone down to the loudness of those elements. This certainly is a fruit and citrus basket leaning more heavily on the fruits. Like it feels very fruit floral with a basket of citrus underneath it. It's musky. The density in this is like very, I don't know if it's, it feels like it has a vanilla backbone, but you don't get a vanilla note. And it also feels like it has some kind of textural quality of either having, it feels powdery, I'm going to go for. I was going to say velvety, like it's got like a middle of the road kind of weighted texture to it, but it's airy. So I feel like powdery is the right word, kind of like the same floral powder you might get from like a violet leaf or like a white floral, something like that. Pretty sweet. I would say like a 6 or 7 out of 10 sweetness, probably more than 7. It's pretty sweet. Let's check out the window here and just kind of get our usual suspects for how we break this down. Because I have been talking the heck out of the fragrance. 12 minutes in, we haven't even got to the note pyramid. Good job, SB. Okay, so top notes, Sicilian orange, Calabrian bergamot, and Sicilian lemon. I like this because it's not typical orange, bergamot, or lemon, which means that we get some of your more typical citruses that give off potentially a note profile that's a little bit more unique than how you typically are used to smelling orange, bergamot, and lemon. Then in the mid, we have fruits. We don't know what that is, but we can just assume fruit medley or maybe something that's giving off an accord of fruits. I would guess this is like, there's got to be florals in this. There just has to be. Fragrantica's wrong many of the time. And I do get some sort of a white floral component to this. In the base, obviously, a lot of white musk, Madagascar, vanilla, and amber. Really simple fragrance here, but I want to explain to you guys why a fragrance like this has a lot of finesse. So with simple fragrances, there's different things you can do to still achieve sophistication or dimension. So I want to name a couple of the things that I notice. They're not using typical citruses, so the citruses may come off more luxurious or different or more unique, which to me might come off as exotic or luxurious. The fruits medley all pairing together makes a really unique combo that you wouldn't see on a typical citrus basket fragrance or a fruit basket fragrance. They've kind of married the two, so there's some contrast between different elements going on, like different things that fruits and citruses would have, like zesty, overly sweet, juicy, soft, briny, tart. You know what I'm saying? Like just different parts because they're joining together a bunch of different fruit, citric, and floral accords. And then the musk, the component of like this airy gust under it, and what musk does, I feel like, is it has the ability to kind of glue things together and tone down loudness. So I feel like the musk is really nice because it's toning down and adding another layer of character to the citrus fruit top. Amber, I don't I don't really get too much amber, I'll be honest. Normally when I feel amber, it comes off very either warming or slightly sweet. When I put this on my arm, I'll let that dry down. It's my scent of the night, so technically it's dried down. I don't really get like a warming. And as far as the sweet, vanilla and fruits and citruses are all contributing to that sweet. So I don't feel like I'm getting much amber in this at all. The vanilla is surprisingly toned down. Again, you don't get vanilla accords from this fragrance. You just get a nice level of sweetness that I don't feel is overdone. This is like my limitation for how sweet a fragrance should be is like no more than 5 or 6 level sweet, with the exception of things like Grand Soir and stuff. My ideal sweetness is anything 6 out of 10 and below, just to let other things creep out into the fragrance and create dimension. And this vanilla is great because in the sweetness category or in the sweet part of this fragrance, the sweetness is mostly driven by the natural sweetness from the heart and top of this fragrance. So the vanilla is just a very soft backbone of support to drive more of the natural sweetness. And so you don't get a vanilla accord. And typically when you see vanilla in the base, you kind of do smell like a distinct vanilla accord in a lot of fragrances. So I love that vanilla is truly a real support to a fragrance like this. This fragrance, I think, for people encountering it for the first time, I'm going to give you the vibes that it could give off. Obviously, it could give off tropical. It could give off vacation. I think some men may be challenged to associate this scent profile with like hairspray and Bath and Body Works body sprays and lotions. It does somewhat, I don't want to say as far as note profile, but as far as the vibe of the profile, it could feel a bit feminine, beachy, a bit hairspray, a bit tanning salonish, a bit Bath and Body Works body sprays all working together, a bit, all of those things. It has elements of all of those. Like somebody might smell this and say, oh, it smells like a women's hairspray. Oh, this smells like, a tanning salon with a basket of fruit in the front. Oh, this smells like a flower dress on a girl on an island, Oh, this smells like a suntan lotion and a girl's just on the beach and you catch the ocean wafting the suntan lotion. Like there's just a bunch of different, or, oh, this smells like every Bath and Body Works. But although that may be true, I think when you get out of your own head and just let the fragrance settle and then interact with it, maybe like 10, 20, 30 minutes in, yes, none of that really goes away, but I think the fragrance sits in a way that makes it a little less glaringly obvious that it goes to those spaces. And for that, you can more judge it as a fragrance and not associate it with places and preconceptions that you have. I think this fragrance gets a lot of flack specifically by the people that don't like it. I think it should get more love because if I had to wear a tropical, beachy, 5-star hotel, fun, playful vacation type of fragrance, this would be up there. And I'm not too, I wouldn't have purchased this myself, but I wouldn't necessarily say I'm far off from this. I actually think it's very well done and I almost prefer it, but I prefer things like in this category, something like a Erba Gold or a Wilhelm Mango Skin. I feel like Erba Gold gets this, but gives it in a richer, more velvety, brinier way. So it's even toned down even more, but it still is super playful and super fun. Maybe because it deals with mango in Erba Gold, I like it a little bit more because it's a little less hairspray-ish or like Bath and Body Works-ish. But a lot of people would say those fragrances are virtually the same thing in terms of like the mood, the DNA style, and all that. So even Mango Skin. So I think it's a good fragrance. I think unbiasedly, I would call this I don't use decimals, so it's either a 8 or a 9 for me. My personal preference would put it at like a 8. I think universally most people would really, really like a fragrance like this. Let's go through some usual suspects real quick and wrap up because I'm long-winded with this one. I understand that. But it's a very popular fragrance. I imagine a lot of people will watch this video review because this fragrance will constantly be searched and people will really be curious as to what it smells like. The reality is some people are just really intimidated to go into a Neiman Marcus. So unless they're buying it online, decanting it, they'll never know what it smells like. So they'd need a review like this. Usual suspects, ageless fragrance. I think it leans 25 down because of how playful it is. And because of how feminine it is. Ladies, all ages can wear this. I think they would all equally enjoy a scent like this. This would be their vacation scent. Or their, anything near water type of scent. It does have not necessarily a luxuriousness, but a classiness. You don't just smell like a teenage girl, even though it has that note profile. This is the highest rendering of it with the most quality ingredients. Now for men, any season, any reason, as pungent as it is, I still think the musk and the coolness of the notes working together gives it an airiness that it's the perfect density to be any season, any reason. It's more of an occasion fragrance than a seasonal fragrance, but certainly it screams spring, summer, but I think any season, any reason. Occasions, I already told you guys. Sprays on this, I think it's going to range depending on how much your skin soaks up a fragrance like this. It is voted to be quite long lasting. And it did last a good amount of time on me. 6-ish hours strong. I think it could go well beyond that, but you're probably going to have to cake on the sprays and everybody's skin is going to be different. But votes online say the sillage is incredible and it's very long lasting. My skin absorbs a fragrance like crazy. So if you want to get crazy push, you might want to put on like a coconut lotion or an unscented lotion just to give it crazy carry. Like if you're going to be outdoors, I think you need to put a lotion on under it to just really get your bang for your buck and let that thing ring off and have wafts galore to people around you and to yourself. Alternatives. I don't really know if there's an Erba Pura alternative. Let's take a look real quick. Erba Pura clonery. So Al Haramain does the Amber Oud Gold. Actually, I do remember this. I think people said Amber Oud Gold is pretty solid. I know probably Alexandria or Dua mess with this scent. Though I would caution you from blind buying it when you go the inspiration route, just because they're very hit or miss. Not every Dua fragrance is incredible. Sorry to break it to you. Not every Alexandria fragrance is incredible. Couple people said Fragrance World Vanilla Bouquet, Fragrance World Violet Sapphire. But yeah, Al Haramain Gold Edition, I am familiar with that's being recommended out there. But I think, as this DNA is so popular and it's kind of like a staple and a lot of you young people love this tropical scent, I might be tempted to at least get, I think Xerjoff sells 50 mLs or something small. Because it's an occasion-based fragrance, if you're a young guy in college and you're doing a lot of pool parties and stuff, I would just cop a bottle, to be straight up with you. And if you're intimidated by how feminine this might feel, switch lanes and go to Erba Gold, which is my personal favorite out of this style from Xerjoff, as well as Wilhelm's Mango Skin, as well as God of Fire or Vulcan Fue, as well as Day 3 Bonnie, if you want a softer touch. Those are all quality mango options, even though Erba Pura isn't exactly mango. I'm just giving you guys caveats from my Erba Gold recommendation. But people say that Amber Oud Gold Edition is a really nice rendering of this, so you could do that as well. If you're not wearing it that much, get the clone. if you feel like you're going to be wearing this quite a bit and you like tropical scents and you're a big Jean-Paul Gaultier lover and stuff like that, I would just get the real thing, because you're going to wear it, you're going to have a blast, and you're going to not want to smell cheap with this category, because it already teeters on the line of Bath and Body Works style. And I think getting a niche quality fragrance is going to give you the quality boost you're going to need to not feel like a teenager or someone in your early 20s. So I hope that review was helpful for you guys. Again, this is Erba Pura by Xerjoff. And I gave it, politically, I give it a 9. My personal taste, I give it an 8, which still isn't that bad. Like, comment, and subscribe. More importantly, turn on that notification bell so you can stay tuned with all the latest and greatest. For those of you who are new to the channel, we drop episodes every single day, and I'm active on everything: community posts, shorts, live Q&As, collaborations, game shows. We do it all here. So if you're into fragrance, in 1 year, I have uploaded over 600 videos. So almost double of the 365 on the calendar. And I will probably triple that in 2025. So stay tuned. This is the Scent Bubble. Until next time, be blessed, guys.